My pleasure, and welcome everyone, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Hey, I heard a really great line this morning as I was listening to a status report, and the person said, "I am pragmatic. I am comfortable living in the land of gray," and the reason I guess that sort of resonated is that as a coach, many times we are living in the land of gray. So, every life, every project, every product delivery, whether it's software or business, have their ups and downs. We live in times where things are crystal clear and sometimes they're imponderable. The whole idea of that we really are facing individual solutions, individual problems, and all problems have a solution. My philosopher friends might tell me that actually all problems that have a solution aren't typically a problem, but I would suggest that a problem without a solution is a mystery. The reason it's important that we have problems and that there are generally, at least generally, solutions, despite whatever Seth Godin says, is that we have coaches. Coaches are a mechanism to actually help find a solution set that take mysteries and make them into problems. Problems, again, if we define them this way, have solutions. Everyone can improve. No one is perfect. And so navigating, finding and getting the skills to navigate the path from the imponderable to something that is solutionable, coaches are there to actually help people get down that path. Not necessarily to solve the problem for them, but to actually provide them with the ability to help see that they can solve their own problems. The problem is, in many cases, there are two words that I think end up being conflated together. And one of them is coach, which we're talking about today, and then mentorship. And mentorship, I would suggest, and mentors are a fundamentally different thing. And I'm sure many of you are sitting there Googling the whole idea of the difference between a coach and a mentor. Hopefully you'll actually find my blog and see what I've written about it. But the reality is many people conflate the words, even experts do. I would like to suggest that those two things are very different, and that there are 7 questions that one can ask oneself to determine whether or not you need a mentor or a coach. Mentor being somebody who is more interested in the whole versus a coach, which I would suggest is much more transactional, focused on fixing a specific problem. I live near Cleveland, Ohio, near Cleveland, Ohio, and every once in a while I'll go down and watch the induction into the Football Hall of Fame. And when that happens, people talk about, and they thank a lot of people. They do thank their mentors, people who have helped them with their whole life, and they thank coaches, which help them with very specific things. Ask yourself these 7 basic questions. Do you need to work on a specific problem or behavior? And if the answer is yes, you need a coach. Is there a need for immediate tactical improvement in performance? If Stephen Curry or LeBron James, person who formerly was here, or Cristiano Ronaldo, needed to make a change in their game for the next match, they would get a coach to do that. They wouldn't get a mentor to do that. Coaches address the here and now versus the mentors who take a much more longer-term view. 3, is the behavior or area being changed measurable in the short run? If you're talking about someone's life or someone's career, that's a long-term measurement thing. That's something I would invoke a mentor to help with versus a coach. 4, does a team or group need to address a performance issue? Are you having problem with a specific thing? Coaches can provide input and feedback to groups, and I'll make at least one more sports analogy. For example, an offensive lineman of my local football team, which may actually be good this year, the linemen have coaches that help them with blocking and tackling. That's their role. It isn't to help them live a good life or do financial improvement. 5, is there a need for transaction level help? Again, the difference between coach and a mentor. Is there a need for real-time feedback to change behavior? Coaches are there in the real time providing feedback, and we'll talk about permissioning and a few other things that I think help drive that point home, but also make coaching significantly more effective in the here and now. Is there a need for input, focusing on the job? Again, yes, coach, no, it's more of a mentor. So if you can answer yes to all 7 of these questions, or at least a majority of them, I think you're looking for a coach, not a mentor. If the answers are no, we're looking for something totally different. And I do think they're a different role set. By the way, if there's questions or feedback you want to throw into the Q&A column, perhaps as we go through, we can actually tackle some of them. But why is this coaching? Why is coaching a tool to improve a team or individual? One of the reasons I think that this is truly important in terms of using coaching is the fact that there is a direct linkage in terms of coaching, trust, and innovation. It is a cycle in its own right. Innovation in its own right is very nonlinear. Our day-to-day work, most people tend to fall into a linear path, a linear progression based on the team's boundaries and the pressures and the biases on both sides of that. Coaching helps break that up because it allows for and helps with generating a freer flow of information and helps people challenge the boundaries that they're looking at with a job set focus. So coaching provides that safe environment for experimentation, feedback, and then that generates trust, which reduces the overall transaction cost to innovation. Trust, coaching, innovation, all 3 directly linked. I recently heard Bill Premer, who's the CEO of Highland State. Innovation is important because it advantages the customer. Trust is that critical tool for creating an atmosphere of innovation. Coaching is one of those mechanisms for unlocking that trust and providing a mechanism to keep that flow. Part of that trust equation is trust between the coach and the coachee also. And to do that, I would suggest something along the lines of a code of ethics. All too often, coaches and people who label themselves as that believe that they can unlock and deal with issues that are deep-seated or are organizational in nature, and so therefore the interactions between people become problematic. I would suggest a simple code of ethics as you address either becoming a coach or engaging a coach. Have a contract, and we'll talk about that in detail later on, but contracts allow permissioning. It spells out sort of roles and understandings. Set appropriate boundaries. A coach is, and I'll go back to the football analogy for a second, a line coach isn't going to provide financial advice,